Hey everyone, super excited to kind of talk to you guys about a new NRX that I've had to use over the past couple weeks here. But before I kind of dive in, just want to kind of thank you guys so much for the views. Thank you guys so much for all the comments, all the subscribes. And so today is going to be talking particularly about the 894 and kind of give you guys a little inside scoop on the 894 and also the 893 and kind of which one would be better for for you. So I'm going to kind of talk a little bit about both, talk about the differences, similarities. For anyone who has already watched my channel, you guys know that the 893 is a big rod that I love using mostly all the time here in Wisconsin. So most of the time, my favorite go-to bait is a 3/8 ounce jig. So that's the 893. That's primarily what I throw on it. If I do switch it out, I might throw a Cinco on it, but primarily I am going to throw, you know, swim jigs on it. So 3/8 is a sweet spot for the 893. Yes. So similarities, they're both 7 feet 5 inches. They're, obviously both the NRX model, but the biggest difference here is we're talking about the action and the power. Okay, 893 has a extra fast action, whereas the 894 has a fast action, but it's a heavy power. Okay, the other big difference you'll notice is the logos. 893 that I have is a little bit of an older version, so it has the original G-Loomis logo, whereas the which is the fish, and whereas the 894 is a newer rod, so it has the G-Loomis spelled out right there instead of the fish. Okay, the rods are going to be pretty much identical, so I'm going to pick up the camera here, show you guys a little bit. The handles are the same, the corks are the same, the finish is the same. Still has, a lot of sloppiness in the epoxy and also in the wrappings, but primarily everything else is the same. Okay, so there's no big difference except for the power and the action. All right, so the biggest difference in this is obviously the amount of weight that the 893 is suited for and the amount of weight that the 894 is suited for. For the 893, according to G-Loomis, is 3/16 to 5/8, whereas the G-Loomis 894 is going to be 5/16 all the way up to 3/4. Okay, so I picked up the 894 because I needed a rod for my Texas rigs, and the 893 is a great rod, don't get me wrong, but once I started getting to the 3/8 ounce and ½ ounce Texas rigs, it wasn't really, the rod didn't load up like the way I wanted it to. So the 894, I picked up the 894 because of that, and I really love the 894 for that reason. Flipping, pitching, anything like that, the 894 gives you more power, so it gives you a better. So when you're flipping a bait, your bait has a better. You're able to pitch that further, and you're able to really get a lot of power when you're hooking a fish up either in grass or around wood. So that extra power gives you that much more cushion and room for error versus the 893. So that's the reason why I wanted the 894. So when I picked it up, I used it for Texas rigs, and primarily the weight size that I love using it for is 5/16. So I fish a lot on the Mississippi River for my BFLs, and I don't want to go 1/4 ounce because it's too light, and I don't want to go 3/8 because I'm going to get snagged a lot on either wood or rocks and stuff like that. So 5/16 is kind of my go-to weight. So that's what you see here over here. So I think it's perfect. I think 5/16 to 3/8 ounce is great. Once you get to that ½ ounce, it kind of gets a little tricky. It's definitely still doable, but it gets a little tricky. And obviously 3/4 is the most that I would definitely go with it. But anywhere between 5/16 and 3/8 is the sweet spot. Once you get to ½ ounce, it's a little bit trickier, but you can definitely make it work. But again, like I said, 5/16 to 3/8 is going to be the ideal weight for the 894, whereas the NRX 893 is going to be more so your 1/4 ounce to 3/8 max. I have both of these put up with the 2020 Metanium, so it's kind of giving me a really fair comparison. I have both 16-pound Sunline FC Sniper on both, so that way I get a really good comparison about the difference between the actions and the powers. So if you're looking to go more finesse applications, stick with the 893. If you're looking to go more of a bigger application, anywhere between 5/16 to 3/8 and a half ounce, get the 894. If I were you, just get both, because that way you don't have to really worry about either. But if you had to get one, either or will depend upon what you really throw. So finesse your applications, the 893, or if you want to go a little bit bigger with the 894, you definitely can do that. Okay. One thing I do want to talk about real quickly before I sum up the video, the difference in terms of the size and thickness of the rod, there is really no difference. Okay, so don't think that the 894 is going to be a lot thicker and a lot meatier and more of a broomstick. It's the same, identical. Once you get to the tip, now the 894 is going to be a little more stout at the tip, but the 893, obviously that's, you're talking about a whole power less, but it's nice though. You don't get a whole, you don't get a really thick rod and with the 894, even by going up an extra power. So kudos to G-Loomis for doing that, because obviously I have a lot of I have a lot of St. Croix where if you go up a power, this the heavy power is going to have a lot more thickness, and so kudos to NRX for making sure that that was not the issue. Again, you still get excellent sensitivity in both rods, and so the biggest difference is, hey, what are you throwing? So again, finesse your applications, and if you want to go a little bit bigger, get the 894. If you guys have any questions, you guys have any comments, anything, feel free to let me know. I'll be happy to answer them for you. But again, kind of my comparison, 893 and 894. One is not better than the other. It just depends on what you're using it for. Okay, so just want to make sure that I'm clear. There's not one that's better. It just depends on what you're using it for. Again, any questions, feel free to let me know. But again, if you guys haven't yet, please like and subscribe to the video. And so you guys get obviously alerted when I drop new content, and I'll also be doing another YouTube giveaway, so make sure you guys subscribe so you guys get alerted when I drop that video. Other than that, thank you guys so much, and tight lines.